Fang gang. It's time to learn about fangs, gang. In the first two episodes of this series, we talked about what is venom, what is poison, and the differences between them, the evolution of venom, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the different types of snake fangs. We've already seen how complex venomous snakes are. There's so much fascinating things to learn. Something even as seemingly simple as snake fangs, this is no different. They are much more complex and meets the eye. We learned already that venom requires a wound to enter a target, and the way venomous animals accomplish this is through a venom apparatus. Examples being a stinger on a scorpion, or in this case, the modified teeth of venomous snakes, fangs. So in this video, I'll go over rear fang snakes and the two types of front fang snakes. So we'll start with proteroglyphous dentition, which is Greek for a groove at the back. This type of dentition refers to the rear fang snakes. Examples of rear fang snakes include hognose snakes, garter snakes, cat-eyed snakes, false water cobras, boomslang. These are all examples of rear fang snakes. These snakes have enlarged teeth near the back of their upper jaw. The rear fangs of these snakes are not like those that are thought of when you think of snake fangs. They are not hollow hypodermic needle-like fangs. Instead, these fangs typically have a groove that guides venom down into prey. The venom is secreted by a gland called the Duvernoy's gland. Now with rear fang snakes, they have to bite down far enough to penetrate their target with the rear fangs. That leads to behavior seen in these snakes, chewing behavior. This type of behavior, as well as a misconception that rear fang snakes aren't harmful to people, because all except for one that I named in the examples are mildly venomous and not harmful to people, but one of them is. This type of misconception led to the death of some herpetologists. Originally, all these rear fang snakes were viewed as harmless and required chewing to get venom into you. The boomslang, which is a snake in Africa, is a great example of this fallacy. It led to the death of one of these herpetologists. There was a herpetologist that was bitten by a boomslang and recorded his symptoms in a journal before he passed away from the venom. There's a video on YouTube going over the journal entries as well as the aftermath from the doctor's notes. I believe the video is called Diary of a Snake Bite Death. Check it out, it's very interesting. Another snake, the twig snake, a close relative of the boomslang, also led to the death of another herpetologist. So although many rear fang snakes aren't dangerous to people, these are two examples of ones that are highly venomous. With the rear fangs, this is not as efficient for venom delivery compared to front fang snakes, which we'll get into later. Moving on to the front fang snakes, we start with the proteroglyphous dentition. This is Greek for a groove at the front. This type of dentition is possessed by elapids. Elapids are the family of snakes that include cobras, mambas, coral snakes, taipans, death adders. The fangs of these snakes are in the front of the mouth. These fangs are very short and fixed, not the long hinged fangs we will see coming up. Fangs are covered by a layer of connective tissue referred to as the fang sheath, and due to the short fangs, they are completely covered by this tissue. And sometimes there are even more than one fang on each side. The reason for this is because they are constantly replacing their teeth. They will have a backup ready to go typically. Because think about it, how can they capture prey if they lose their ability to inject their venom? We have discussed that snake venom is used for prey capture, with an exception, the spitting cobras. Spitting behavior is used for defense, but just to be clear, they still bite and inject venom to capture prey. The really amazing thing about spitting cobras is that they have further modifications to their fangs, such as the exit hole being smaller and rounder compared to non-spitting cobras. This increases the velocity and even accuracy of their spitting. Isn't that just amazing? I'm going to mention this amazing example again in this video, just in case some of you haven't seen the previous episodes. As I mentioned, venom is for capturing prey. There's a species of sea snake that now feeds exclusively on fish eggs. They no longer need to waste the massive amounts of energy required for venom production. They also no longer need to inject venom, since it's fish eggs. They have very reduced or even no longer have their fangs or venom glands anymore. So amazing. Now let's move on to the other type of front fang snakes. It's time for the solenoglyphous dentition, Greek for a channel or pipe and a groove. These are the iconic fangs that will come to most people's minds when they think of snake fangs. The long hypodermic needle-like hinged fangs. These are possessed by vipers. These long mobile fangs are the most sophisticated of them all. The fangs, of course, are located in the front of the mouth on the upper jaw. They are hinged so that the fangs can be folded back parallel to the jaws when the mouth is closed. They are erected out when striking. These fangs are hollow, which guides venom from the venom glands to the orifice near the base through the slit-like exit. The reason for the slit instead of the hole being at the very tip is because it would decrease the sharpness as well as strength of the tooth. As I mentioned, they regularly shed their fangs and typically have backups ready to take place of old ones. So again, just like with the lapids, you can sometimes see 2 fangs on each side instead of 1. One of the coolest things to watch is how these snakes use their fangs to walk their prey down their throat while they're eating. There's a similar fang type that evolved again in a different group of snakes, the family Lamprophidae, which contains the genus Atractaspis. Pronouncing all of these wrong, I'm sure. We've talked about one of these snakes in this genus, a species known as the stiletto snake. Remember that snake? These burrowing snakes are so unique. Their fangs can swing out the side of their mouth even with their mouths completely closed, stabbing the prey. The reason for this adaptation is because they are in tight areas in these burrows. They need to be able to capture prey effectively, and opening their mouths to bite may not be possible in this cramped space. Once again, how fascinating are snakes? Now, just to address something I mentioned earlier, the venom delivery system of front fang snakes is much more efficient than that of rear fang snakes. This is due to a combination of factors. The first comes back to the structure of fangs themselves. Since front fangs are tubular in design, they comprise a completely enclosed venom system. Rear fangs, whether they have the grooves or not, are part of an open venom system because the venom duct empties onto or above the rear fang with little to enclose the venom flow. Now, I mentioned how the fangs regularly replaced, but finding them super clean like that picture I keep showing of that fang on the table, or like the ones in this container, finding them clean where they fall out and just are in the enclosure, very rare. The majority of these fangs that I have, you want to know how I get them? I have a whole video up showing the whole process. When they bite their prey, sometimes the old fang falls out into the prey. They pass it through, goes through the digestive system, it's in the poop. So one of the ways, the main way I find all these fangs is digging through the poop. Disgusting, right? But yeah, that's how I got all these fangs, because I'm sure some of you will wonder how I have so many, and I give so many away. So this is just what I have right now. Amazing, huh? Now, I truly hope you enjoyed this video. The next one will probably be on different types of venom. Not sure when I'll start it, but I will eventually. Subscribe if you're new. Click the post notification bell because I do post a lot. I'll be back very soon. Love y'all, and a big shout out to my channel members.